All right, so firstly, thanks very much for the opportunity to come and present and to talk to you about our journey. Gippsland Natural was started by a very innovative group of beef producers back in 1999, and really it was predominantly looking at evaluating for Gippsland grass-fed beef and how we can add value. To give you a bit of an idea, the price of beef now is probably twice what it was back then. So basically we're all about free-range beef, no hormonal growth promotants. Very importantly, we started off early days using the MSA grading system to underpin the eating quality of what we did. But it was really all about how we farmed, and we all had a great land care ethic to what we did. But we went down the path of saying, well, it's all very well to talk about sustainability and what we do, but how do you actually underpin that? And so we embarked in about 2001 on using the environmental management system, an EMS, and this is my property down at Fish Creek. So we went through the whole process of developing an EMS, or environmental management system, which was compliant with ISO 14001. So it was an internationally recognised way of underpinning our sustainability claims. So in the early days as a cooperative, we supported, basically we were selling carcass beef into butcher shops. The challenge with the cooperative structure that we had was that it was a very formal quarterly board meetings, and what transpired was basically a few of us doing a lot of the work, and the cooperative structure didn't quite gel as best it could. So a couple of us, they tended the brands off, and a couple of us were, I guess, too stubborn to actually stop what we're doing. So we got into it. We're building Gippsland Natural Meats as a company. We're a producer-owned, we have a cooperative spirit, but we're building on the branding work of what the earlier cooperative did, and we've got a lot of the members still supply. Going into food service, and we were basically working with partners. One of the challenges that we ran into is pretty endemic in the meat game, which is meat substitution. So here you can see one of our Gippsland Natural stickers on a product that was out of the Brisbane boning room. So these things we learn all the way along. So basically now we're just doing it all ourselves. We've got our own butcher. We do our own portion cutting. We're hands-on in right from paddock to plate, cradle to grave kind of thing. And it's great because we have good feedback from the producer. We've got nearly 40 suppliers on board with us. One of the challenges with the volume is it's all very well to go into in a restaurant game, but of course restaurants only want the sweet cuts, and out of a 300 kilo carcass of beef there's only 30 kilos of sweet cuts. So the main thing for us is how do we find a home for all the other bits before we go, before we embark too strongly on going further. One of the bigger things for us is that we're fortunate enough to be supplying a lot of beef into the Australian Open tennis. We put pretty close to 30,000 hamburgers in there last year, and that takes care of a lot of some of the other cuts that we have. But also in summertime the butts is an issue for us, and so again with the tennis we've been able to double the forecast year on year with the quality of beef that we produce and the MSA grading that we use. So basically a few of the learnings from it, it's a bit of a challenge, is how to maintain it and how to grow. We still have to find alternate homes for things, so we're very busy in terms of looking at things like ready meals, pies, and of course burgers, so we work with burger chains as well. So basically the value-adding thing is very important, and integrity is very important. So that's where we've gone down the path of now all of our meat comes out with a QR code on it, which the chef can scan and come back to the story of where we've come. The cost of that's quite expensive, so it is hoped that we can do that for individual farmers, so that I can certainly track every piece of meat back to the farm, but we'll do that shortly. The MSA grading process allows us to utilise cuts that other people wouldn't necessarily think about, because we know exactly how each cut's going to perform, so we can value add our options. I guess one of the big things is where do we go to from here? Now that we're balancing all of those secondary cuts, we can now start looking at taking on more of the bigger restaurants, and we're now working with some really high-end chefs in some of the better restaurants in Melbourne, and regionally, I might add. So a few of the brand challenges. Basically, everybody's doing it now. Everyone's doing hormone-free beef, everyone's doing branded beef, everyone's doing things, but basically the driver for us is that it really is a multinational trade game happening. Most of our processing is either foreign-owned or partly foreign-owned at least, but the opportunities out there are enormous. So how do we maintain a point of difference? Many of you would know Bob Davey. I've known Bob for nearly 40 years. And Bob's been very passionate about the Landcare field, as I was. The Phillip Island Landcare Group was the third Landcare group ever formed. But Bob decided in his environment journey to go down the carbon path, and so he's now looking at his property is carbon neutral, and we've got enough carbon credits to basically make Gippsland Natural meats carbon neutral. And what we're looking for is other people who'd like to join us on the whole journey about environmentally sustainable beef, and certainly looking down the path of carbon neutral beef, because that is totally attainable. One of the other things that we're doing is, obviously with the drive for local food, we have chefs in town that are really looking for produce and looking for good things. So one of the things we're doing next year, which is very exciting, is we're going to be hosting one of the biggest events on the farm next year as part of the Melbourne Food and Wine Function. And we're looking to showcase Gippsland produce. So obviously there'll be a focus on beef with the South American chef, but we're looking at all sorts of things from fish, seafood and vegetables. So thanks for that.